Anyhow, gardening. Well, with everything that's going on, all of our farmers being told to cut their production by at least 1/3, we have issues. There's a reason they're pulling this all back. There's a reason behind all of this madness. And number one is to lower your immunity and lower your health and get you chasing all of their solutions. Okay. And that's all the further I'm going to take that. When you start eating organic foods, and that's what I offer you, a quick, right now solution to change your soils, to give you those organic solutions that will give you food you haven't tasted in 35 years. What you buy in a grocery store today is nowhere near what I grow in my front yard. Doesn't even come close.
And tastes better too, Ron.
Far better, because your taste buds are designed to taste minerals and vitamins. And when you bite into a luscious tomato or a fresh strawberry that is under organic conditions, and people really veer away from those words because they think that it's going to cost a fortune. Well, guess what? Nature's free. Guess what? A lot of the byproducts of these things that they don't want you using are next to free. I'm not kidding. You want a weed-free garden? Go get yourself some corn gluten from the feed mill. It's next to dirt cheap. They can't give this stuff away fast enough. You put this stuff down on your garden and it kills all the weed seed. It's what I'm offering in the book is all of my mistakes and all of my improvements in what I learned in 15 and almost 20 years of messing around with this property that I'm on. I've taken it from one of the worst chemical weed beds where I spent hundreds, almost $1,000 a year trying to improve this place, to spending $50 for years worth of supplies and getting 10 times better results.
Right. Ron, tell them about the pepper story. After you,
Oh yeah.
oh yeah, that's funny.
Oh yeah. I decided, because my neighbor, Mr. I've got the taste buds, I can handle anything. I decided I was going to buy peppers that matched his, from his chemical garden to my organic garden. And everything was great. We both grew about the same speed. Everything went along the same lines, what have you. I reached in my garden past a banana pepper plant to just grab a hold of some garlic and to get some garlic out for some fresh stuff I was doing. And I burnt the back of my hand because the plant was that hot, and it was a banana pepper. I warn everybody, when you go organic, watch your peppers, because you're going to get the capsaicin from hell. If you're one of them pepper heads that loves to really challenge yourself, try my way. I will never grow peppers again in my yard under those conditions and potentially burn my hand on a banana pepper, which is supposed to be sweet.
I know.
It was the dang plant that burnt the back of my hand. It wasn't even the pepper itself. When I gave him those peppers, because I refused to touch them at that point, I went to plastic gloves and everything, harvested all of what I had, gave them to him. He bit into one of his banana peppers, all this, that, and the other. He bit into one of mine and almost threw up. It was so hot. That's what you're getting with true organic gardening and a true organic yard. And it's less work than you think. That's the whole point of this. Why should you be working harder when you can do it Mother Nature's way? Look at all of the watering. And I'm really, we were talking about this about a half hour ago. I'm really concerned about some of these water conditions we're talking about. California's coming out talking about some of the new things they're getting ready to do. And there's sequestering going on, and there's this going on. I'm really worried that some of the water that you guys are going to be getting out of your taps this year that you're going to want to put on your garden is going to actually have something in it that's going to hurt your plants. If they don't want farmers gardening, And they're telling them that for them to get their subsidies this year, they must cut production by at least 1/3 and let those farms go to seed. Let those farms go organic. There's something else being planned here. I would not be surprised if there's something going to be in that water that is not going to be good for plants this year. When you go organic, when you follow, and I don't wish to say it this way, but when you follow the Green Wizard's guide information, not my method, Mother Nature's method, when you follow that, the soil begins to sequester natural water itself. You no longer get flooding. All the water goes into the soil and it is stored in the soil like it's supposed to be. Everybody's got all this clay condition because they don't understand the organics. As soon as you put a little bit of Epsom salt on a clay bed, it starts to dissolve and break down and it stores water. And people misunderstand. Epsom salt is not salt. That's just what they call it. It's a combination, a specific combination of minerals found in Epsom, England. And those minerals, whatever they do, whatever their combination is, dissolve and break up clay and make it more porous to allow water sequestration. The microbial life that is out there that grows under the soil that you never see, you can't see because it's microscopic, actually forms these little pockets and these little wet spots throughout your soil, throughout your topsoil, your dirt, your clay, what have you, and it holds water. It can hold water up to 5 feet away from your plant. And as soon as your plant calls for water, up comes the water because the microbial life brings it back to the roots. Your roots can't travel as far as the microbial life can travel. Believe me, they've tracked this stuff. It's been over a mile long. You can get a mile of microbial life in a tablespoon of dirt. That's how small it is. And it can get through everything. And it stores water like you wouldn't believe. You don't need to be watering your garden every day. This idea that you need 1 inch of water per week, you get that just in the morning dew alone. And when your soil is retaining water and sucking water in, your garden will explode naturally. You don't get tomato split. You don't get this. You don't get plants that are too heavy because there's too much water being stored in them and they're falling over. A lot of those conditions are because of clay also. The root bed should be nearly as big as the plant that you see above ground, if not bigger. The only reason it's not is because the soil conditions aren't correct. I give you every Mother Nature shortcut in my book. Howie gives it to you in his way through pathway soil gardening. There are so many different ways that we can do this to improve your gardens that you don't have to work at it. If you're going to be, and you're forced to be, utilizing tap water because you're living in an apartment, you're doing it out on your balcony, or you're doing this, or you're doing that, and you're plant gardening, what have you, let the tap water sit in an open bucket for at least 24 hours. If you can put a bubbler in it, even better, because it'll get all the chemicals out of that water and then apply it to your beds.
Right. And also one thing, put it in the sunlight. Ron, you have to put the bucket in the sunlight.
Oh, yeah, you want to heat it up because as you heat some chemicals, they come out. Just don't put boiling hot water on a plant because you'll boil the plant.
Yeah.
Okay. So you do it in the morning, take it out and put it in the sunlight. At night, put it away. And in the next morning, use that more so cool water on your plants. Well,
I'm going to get more coffee. I'll be right back.
Say that. Don't necessarily water your plants. Water the soil and the roots, because that's where everything drinks in. Yes, it can come in through the plants, and yes, there's all this stuff going on, and I understand there's all this stuff being said, but most of your water, let's say 75% of the water that your plants can potentially intake, come in through the roots. Water the soil, not the plants. And I know there's been this huge discussion over, well, you know, the sun can't hurt this and it won't be microscopic and it won't this and it won't that and it won't the other. Right. But, you know, your skin can soak in water if you want to sit in a tub long enough. Or you can drink the water that you actually need every day. So give the plants the water they need through the soil the way they're supposed to get it. Okay, I'm out of breath.
Corn gluten. Yeah, he was telling me about corn gluten before we came on the air. I didn't know anything about that, but he said that stuff is amazing for the roots of your plant.
Japanese honeysuckle.
Smoke break over. Hey, if you quit smoking, you wouldn't have to take a break. You could just stay on break all day long. Japanese honeysuckle. I never heard of that stuff. What is it, Ron?
Well, it's one of these.
Good for your gardening?
Not really. Well, okay. Let's get rid of this myth right off the bat that anything specific is bad for the garden, because as weeds come in, weeds are actually performing Mother Nature's work, whether they're breaking up clay or they're bringing in a certain mineral. Weeds actually are somewhat beneficial. They may be an annoyance, and yes, they will slow production as the sunlight is blocked from the plants that you're growing in your garden. So don't just let things go crazy, because it will stunt the growth. But Japanese honeysuckle is one of these really invasive plants, and once it starts molting or putting off its what have you, basically its seeds, it becomes this problem and it spreads like wildfire. Corn gluten in your soil, and please think about your soil, both in your garden and in your yard. If they're right next to each other, treat your yard the same way you would treat your garden. Get out there with this product called corn gluten. This is one of the things that they say is so bad for people. It wasn't over, just less than 50 years ago. But now all of a sudden we're all gluten allergic and allergies and this. Anyhow, corn gluten, this byproduct of bread making, turns out is the perfect weed seed killer. Now, you can label a weed as anything invasive growing in an area you don't want it. You can call that a weed. I don't care whether it's a tree or it's a dandelion. You can call it a weed because it's someplace you don't want it. And that's the definition of a weed. All plants are beneficial. In the case of this particular plant, and there's a few just like it, but we'll just go with this one specific plant. If you saturate your area with enough corn gluten, you'll wipe out all those microscopic weed seeds. They won't exist on your soil, anywhere in your yard, anywhere in your garden. That's how you can turn your garden into a weed-free atmosphere by just burying it literally like a 1/16 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch, or even better, mix it in with the soil as you're going. But as you put that layer of corn gluten on and it slowly soaks through the soil, every seed it comes in contact with for the next 6 weeks, it's going to dehydrate and kill. And some seeds are microscopic. So as you wipe out all these seeds, you're going to end up with a weed seed yard, weed-free garden. At the same time, as this stuff expires, let's say it's got a shelf life of activity in your garden of 6 to 8 weeks, it then becomes nitrogen. And it's an instant boost of nitrogen throughout the soil that feeds those plants and makes them even greener. So because you went weed free and put this nitrogen down, 5 to 6 weeks later, you've got a boost out of nowhere of nitrogen in all of your plants. So everything's going to green up and get healthier.
Right. I got to tell something to Ron. Ron, Corn gluten is also used by this one Japanese scientist group to decontaminate Fukushima, which is kind of hilarious. They've been spreading it out. What it does is it's an corn gluten is a GMO product, but what it does, it absorbs the radiation into it and it decays faster than ever. And there's some parts of Fukushima they dusted with this stuff. It's almost down to 50% less radiation.
Right.
And they keep doing this and they're repeating the process. Would not eat anything from that ground because of
no. Right.
But it is taking away the radiation. That's the main point.
If they would follow the research, and it was actually the United States military that discovered this on a bomb range of all places. If you go out there with certain types of plant, like the willow tree, or if you go out there with, of all things, a sunflower plant, when you plant a sunflower, it will actually pull the gunpowder and the gunpowder residue and many, many other heavy metals and toxins out of the soil and neutralize them. Now, I wouldn't necessarily say go ahead and eat those sunflower seeds that year, but if you grow a crop the second year, you're growing on clean, purified soil. So where people talk about, well, I want to do this to my soil, I want to do that. Do you know what chemicals were used on it prior to you getting a hold of the property, even 10 years ago? Do you know what was used there? Do you know what was sprayed? Do you know what was this, that, or the other? Do you know if a car sat there and the engine block broke and you got oil in the soil? Do you know? Well, rather than be fearful, plant some sunflowers in your garden. And they don't have to be right next to each other. They can be off in odd corners and in weird places and what have you. They'll grow to the size they need to get the sunlight they need. They're going to clean that soil for you. So you don't have to. One more step you don't have to do in your garden and trying to pull this stuff out. See, where they say you need to, and I think this is where we lose a lot of people that want to garden. They go out and they listen to a lot of other YouTubers and they listen to a lot of these other professionals that are sold on the chemical system. Oh my God, we have to follow the NPK system. Oh my God, we got to go see if our soils are nitrogen healthy, or if they're acidic, or if they're this, or if they're that, or if they're 5 or 6 or 10 or 3, or oh my God, stop. Long before these things were ever used prior to World War II, our grandparents were growing gardens that did not worry about this because they used wood and wood ash. Wood ash is a natural neutralizer. If you've got berries growing someplace you don't want them to grow, layer that area in ashes. It will deacidify the soil and take out the bushes. If you want a neutral, a standing neutral garden with high mineral content, lay it in with a bunch of wood ash. Burn off all of your twigs and sticks and pine and this and that, whatever, on your old garden beds. And let those ashes soak in and do their job. They will neutralize that soil for you. Mother Nature's got all of these plans for you, and we have forgotten all of them. We have followed all of these scientists going, well, you need to spend this $300 and get your soil tested. What? Stop listening to scientists who are pumping chemicals into you and start listening to Mother Nature. Mother Nature's been doing this for hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah, but usually if you move into an area and you're going to garden, then just looking at the soil, if you walk up on the soil and you see, just look at the ground and see what's growing up out of it, will pretty much show you what's been going on there for several years.
Yes,
right.
Will, your mic tell you what's going on.
My mic? Oh, okay. How's that?
Certain weeds grow under certain conditions.
I didn't know it was down. Thanks,
your soil conditions are right, you're going to get the right weeds growing, or you're not going to get any, which is preferable. That's not a high acid soil. That may be a perfection soil, and the seeds never germinated because there's nothing there that make that soil need those weeds.
Yeah, I think it was Fishes saying that you need to plant dandelions and hemp. If I remember right, I was going to bring it up, but you were talking.
And what direction on the hemp and dandelions? To pull stuff out of the ground or to revitalize it?
Dandelion actually does both. A dandelion,
That's what I was
because of the strength of its root, a dandelion will go in and break up clay beds. And it goes into that clay and it pulls up a bunch of different minerals, which makes it so much healthier for you to have dandelion tea and what have you. What's interesting about it is the leaves that we don't normally go after. The leaves, when they break down, actually infuse calcium, a lot of calcium out of the clay back into that topsoil, because the leaves break down over the winter and infuse that calcium back into the soil right there in that spot. And that may be why the dandelion actually grew there, is because there was a lack of calcium. There's any number of reasons that trigger certain weeds to grow. Like in Scotland, and I wrote this out in the book, and it's all documented. In Scotland, on a golf course, a weed popped up that nobody had ever seen before. Well, it turns out this weed was over 200 years old. Nobody had seen it. It took 200 years for the soil conditions to get right to bring this particular weed back, to fix the problem that it had now encountered 200 years later, as we're dumping chemicals, right? Makes you wonder, if you've got seeds that are sitting in your soil for 200 years, what could you possibly find in your garden when you start cracking things open and you start opening stuff up? Some of these seeds need sunlight. And as soon as they see it, because you rototilled or you did this or you did that, which is another reason we try to no-till our soils, is because we don't want sunlight reaching some of these seeds. But if you layer it down in corn gluten, the seeds are going to die anyways. So take your pick. Go either direction. And yes, all of this stuff is covered in the Green Wizard's Guide.
Like I said, folks, you have to be careful when you're gardening, because like Ron says, you might pull out something, and we don't want the day of the trivet coming out of your garden and you're trying to grow carrots.
Yeah, they might have buried something there we don't want to know about.
Yeah.
It's like Modern was saying, the soil is thin where birches grow. He said old timers used to use that adage. So you really never know what's going to be coming up out of the ground.
If you want to neutralize your soil, to bring your pH levels down, and again, that's that people need to stop following that system. That system is what's ruining the soils for everybody. If you want to naturally bring your stuff down, go have a bonfire. Go have a barbecue. Use wood briquettes. Those ashes out of your fireplace. And this is another reason that they're closing fireplaces and you're not allowed to burn the so-called fossil fuels of trees and wood and lumber, is because these things naturally lower the pH and bring things down when you don't want them. So to bring that soil down as quickly as possible, load it up with ashes. Mix it into the soil. You don't have to get crazy because you don't want to hurt the roots, but get those ashes down in those soils and watch how things switch back over, because it'll naturally hold everything up and give you more mineral availability around those trees.
You need.
Does that give you your bill of health or what?
No, that's the Pathway Soil Gardening Hand Guide.
Yep. Yeah. Making soil is pretty cool stuff. It's the best thing you'll ever do. You know.
Tell us how you go about it, Howie.
Well, really not much different than what Ron does, except I do it a little more organically. But Ron does a lot of organic stuff too. But I mean, his is pretty good. But you know, it's comparable. It's very good if you want to do it quickly. Ron, the wizard, the Green Wizard there. But for myself, I make all my own soil in layers. And here it is here in layers.
And you guys can get a copy of that from his website.
Well, you can get a copy off of YouTube if you screenshot it.
Yeah, and you can print it out.
It's what it is it's called Pathway Soil Bank. Here it is right there. And it's all layers. You see coffee grounds, wood chips, wood ash, biochar, dead bird, dead goldfish, sea kelp, peanut shells, kitchen waste from all your neighbors, lawn clippings, chop and drop. So what happens is you make soil. You make it all in layers, some 4 or 5 inch layers. Just throw it on the ground somewhere.
Right, folks, this is all organic with how he's talking about. Do not throw out glass bottles, beer cans, hamburger wrappers, styrofoam boxes. We're trying to make organic soil, not a dump heap.
All right, Keyboard. Thanks for coming by, my friend.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Fishes and Loaves Life, for praying for me. I like that. That's pretty cool.
And hi to Courtney.
You can train your neighbors into making soil for you, hey? It's called Pathway Soil Bank.
Boy, family, welcome.
Don't give away the secret, Howie. My neighbors don't know this yet. They're doing it for me and don't realize. Stop. Don't stop giving it to me.
So the community, when you're inclusive and you make Pathway Soil Bank, you'll make more soil than you'll ever get. And everything's free. Like wood chips, you want to stay with hardwoods like maples, Lombardy poplar, alder, birch, that kind of thing. You don't want to use needle trees unless it's just your go around the edge to keep down some weeds, or if you're leaving it for a year and then you're going to put some lime on it, right? But I also do a biodigester where I throw all my fish guts and seaweed and weeds into. And some people funnel off the methane to make fuel for their fire or power a generator. I don't. I can. But what I do is I just rot it inside this 50-gallon drum. And then I'll take out, say, a couple of cups and put it in a 2-gallon watering can and fill up the rest with water and pour it around each plant. And I never have bugs problems because I used a lot of biochar. And biochar makes it uncomfortable for the click beetle, which is actually the wireworm too. They're the same character that crawls inside your leaves and looks like he's left a trail through, or he eats your carrots and he goes in through your carrot. What it is that makes their lives uncomfortable when you put biochar. And the fastest way to make biochar is just to burn a bunch of wood for, say, a half hour, 45 minutes, and put it out with water. Then take it, put it into a wheelbarrow, and take your hammer and just bust it up and make it crushed like. So what that does is it grabs a hold of the nutrients from my biodigester and stores it in the biochar. And it also, the biochar stores the water. So but the wood ash also stores the minerals in the wood ash from the minerals stored in the biochar. So it's constantly feeding. So that's why they burn down the rainforest in Brazil and they plant soybean and corn and stuff. So what you want to do is you want to emanate nature that's burnt over the ground. And what you're doing is and she leaves 1 inch every 10 years of layers, like what I'm talking about, Pathway Soil Bank. So what you want to do is you want to make those layers. So it's a little regiment change in your lifestyle. So what it is nothing leaves your property and everything comes here that's bio waste and nothing leaves. I have between 3 and 7 feet of rich black humus. I mean, I can spit on the ground here and it'll grow anything. I don't have a problem growing anything here. And it's always warmer here because of it too. Like if you look at the neighbors where they just have lawn and just, clay soil or whatever, it's cold. But here I'm growing lemons and oranges and bananas, man.
Let me, for Howie, Howie's there, that way. Well, you know where I'm pointing. Anyway, Howie's right, because all the fungi and bacteria is producing a layer of thermal heat.
Yeah.
And that would retain, it's 10 degrees, 5 to 10 degrees warmer than the outside air. If you take a digital thermometer, you point it at your neighbor's yard with the typical Canadian lawn and dirt and flour, it's cold. And you point it at 4 inches of your soil in your garden, it's warm.
Yeah.
It's like 50, 60. Big difference. That's why I keep telling people soil thermometers, but nobody ever listens to me.
Oh, I listen to you all the time. I don't think I ever missed one of your videos.
You want to scare the doctor's office, just point that to them. Here, watch Uncle Alan's video. Run away.
But if you emanate nature, you look at a forest. Nature grows that forest there. So why not a food forest? Nature look after it for you. That's the key. If you watched Anthony at Palmetto Prepared this morning, he put out 5 reasons why he grows as much food as he can for himself. It's a supplement. It's very difficult to grow all your food unless you hunt, gather, and grow. That's the best way to get all your food where you don't go to a store, which is rare. But it can be done if you're diligent. You've read your SAS survival book on using snares and traps and for fishing traps.
That Anthony, he's pretty good for a young guy.
He's very good, and he's got a good reason to be good. He's got a little girl now, and he has to survive, and he knows it's coming. It's just a matter of time. And it might be quicker than we think, because I warned all you guys last year to dig your foxhole. Well, you just might be needing it real soon. And your iodine tablet, too.
I got a mine shaft. I bought it.
I've got it all stashed away,
They dig all the digging in the 1840s. I just put in rebar and reinforced concrete.
Yeah. Willow-penas, if you're in the north, willow-penas are real good to do, like a trench in the ground, because it's warm down there, and you put a plastic house on it. And then there's also a plastic house or a greenhouse with a rocket stove. I mean, just a small rocket stove. And you'd be amazed all the CO2 that comes off them rocket stoves is great for growing greenery. I mean, it's perfect. You need an airflow to shoot that over there's a little thing called a stomata that grabs it. It's like food, hey? And you really got to have a good biodigester in your garden too. Something that's rotting and giving off that CO2 because the wind blows it around. Even a fan, a really good size industrial fan in your garden, man. And you have it out behind your biodigester or your compost, and blowing that around in your yard is amazing for the CO2. CO2 counts for 20% of your weight of food. That's a lot. That's a lot, hey. But layers.
Yeah, because CO2 in nature, without man's goofing around, that's 25% of the plant's building structure. In other words, it takes the carbon out of the air, puts it back into the plant, you eat it, you expel it, and then the cycle's complete.
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
I'm doing some research on this program I'm putting together. I'm going to put it out on OBS, and it's on how you make a bunker. Well, if you do it right, you can make something like you said, or something like a rocket stove, and you can put that in your bunker for when you're making it at the end of the bunker where you're going to be growing your foods and stuff. And then that rocket type of stove would help you make your growth grow healthier.
Right.
And it was in this article I was reading, and I thought it was pretty amazing.
Right. But you got to be careful because airflow is because I used to work for Saccoman, and I always harp on people on this one. If you're in a bunker, you have to have 40% airflow. If you have an open flame device, it goes up 60% airflow. Less airflow, you suffocate. You die because there's too much carbon dioxide or too much carbon monoxide. And
put a detector in there. You're right.
Yeah, you have to put a detector.
A vent, even if you need 2 vents.
But if you're thinking of bunker for radiation, you don't need a rocket stove, because if you're in a bunker with people and supplies and stuff, inside that bunker is 85 degrees. Because
Make sure
I work for SAC Command, and we know all this stuff.
airflow is everything, hey?
Yeah. And the trouble with that, people think, oh, then we don't need filters. I'm like,
Oh God.
then you don't need a bunker because you irradiated the whole bunker. You have to have filters. And it's a whole different subject. But a lot of people,
filter.
no, it's micron filter, then charcoal. It's micron first, charcoal next. And you have to dispose of it because it doesn't magically go away. It's like your dirty furnace filter. That dust is now radioactive. And you have to dispose of it. Let's put it in the garden's compost pile. No, please do not do that.
Fishes and Loaves asked a good question about whether to bury the compost banana leaves and spent trees. And that's a good question, you know, because if you did bury it, it's a slow release of CO2. But if you put it on top of the ground and kept it a little bit wet, it's a fast release.
Right.
And but Uncle Al's right there about the radiation that you're collecting. Make sure you're disposing it, you know, inside of a mine 2 miles down.
Yeah.
Right, because you don't want that in the garden or in your bunker.
No, we have a problem here called cesium-137.
No, from the Japanese.
It attaches to your thyroid receptor. So what we do is we eat a lot of potassium, eh? And the best potassium is actually pine pollen, the male pollen, and you freeze it and you burst the sac. And that's the best for the cesium-137 for the nuclear reactor. You got to remember, there's a lot of different types of radiation, man.
Yeah.
And a nuclear bomb radiation, that doesn't count. That's
right.
Different lives.
It's a different whole chemistry.
But, yeah.
Howie's right, because he did a video where you're picking those little melt and then you're freezing them. That's for leakage of a reactor.
Yeah.
Bomb waste, it's 3 forms, and oh God, that's going to give
me
a hit.
Lot of iodine.
Yeah, you need a lot of iodine, and you need a
50-gallon drum, man.
I mean, Lord, because people don't understand. And then you have to put in chelated vitamins and minerals to counteract the radiation poisoning, because a lot of people forget about that. And I said you have to have the chelated minerals and vitamins so you don't get leukemia, cancer, thyroid problems. You don't want, like, you guys haven't seen this. Yeah.
Vitamin C. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't want all this weird stuff coming around. See, everybody got vitamins and they know what I'm talking about. I have a whole desk load right here myself. Yeah.
You got all the same ones I've got, Howie.
Some are lipid soluble. There's like vitamin K. That's a lipid soluble. That's not water. You got to remember this when you're doing your vitamins, especially if there's a lot of radiation around. But my favorite is this one here. It's
vitamin K. You can take that in plant form.
Yeah, NutriKrill is my favorite. It's made from krill from the Antarctic. It's the least contaminated. I'm not saying it's not contaminated. I'm saying it's the least contaminated. And the process that they use is a steam compression process to extract it. And I'm telling you, when you eat this, you got your omega-3, pal.
Right, but you don't want to eat krill from the Marianas Trench.
No. I think there's some stuff left over from Tinian there.
A few other places too. But like I tell folks, you have to be careful, especially with vitamin K. That's warfarin. Do not take too much of it. That's rat poison.
Yeah,
okay?
Exactly.
I have to warn people, you don't overdose on vitamins. Take the correct amount, know what you're doing. Do not mix certain vitamins together, or you're going to go like, what's wrong with his nose? It's always bleeding and he's looking crazy.
Blood thinner you created. The hemoglobin's not there. It's as simple as that. But the big thing to remember, a lot of your vitamins, when you're looking at something, they're not really a vitamin. Like vitamin D is not a vitamin. It's a hormone.
Right.
And when you look at beta carotene from a carrot, it converts to a vitamin A in the human body. There's a lot of transformations that a lot of people need to really knuckle down and learn about. Like Uncle Al said, you really need, you don't need to be an expert, but you need to know all the caution. And that's where you really should look at, especially if you're going to grow your own food. Only grow the food that you're going to need first. And if you've got extra land, then you're growing for others, well, then fine. But make sure you're looking after your own needs first. That's
always look out for yourself first. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like I have 9 food forests. Now we actually started a 10th one, and that's interesting. And we have an overabundance of food. And the guys just left here. We just had a meeting before the dock there just earlier this morning about how much food I'm going to be donating this year. And with the 9 food forests, we're looking at 20,000 pounds of fresh food. That's
good job, Howie.
So that's not just me. That's a few people, right?
Yeah.
All right.
But very good job.
Right.
Thank you kindly. But the tax receipt is what's going to be put into a few different people's names. So they'll get about $2,000 each is what they're looking at. And, you know, and that's not a lot of money, but to someone that's got a 9-to-5 job, it is. You know,
somebody that doesn't really,
right.
Yeah, could really use that kind of help.
And cash. Now, folks, don't forget about Ron's book. You can find it available on Amazon, and we haven't made over now it went down. Sorry, now we're at 11. But check out Ron's book on Amazon, and you can get directly at that one from Howie.
This is on my channel on YouTube. It's my trailer. And this is Hugel Mounds or raised bed. And this is Pathway Soil Bank. So when you make Pathway Soil Bank, you can make the raised bed quite easily. And they're good for 1,000 years. The Hugel Mounds.
This link is to Howie's channel, you guys. Should be up there in a second.
Yep. And we got Ron's Green Wizard Guide on Amazon.
That's a good book Ron's got there.
Is that the wrong one?
No, it's coming up. Wait, we have a delay about there it goes. It came up.
Ron's came up, yep. I see it.
And Howie's came up. We're at the top of the hour. We have about 7 minutes.
I don't see mine.
It should be in.
Up on mine.
Yeah, it's a minute delay.
Yeah, mine's about 4 or 5 minutes behind.
Yeah, it takes a big lag, hey?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah. So how long are you on here, Will?
About 7 minutes, I think.
Oh, okay. Darn, I missed a bunch. Ugh.
It's all right. Ron covered a lot.
He usually does. And it's very accurate, too.
Yep. You have to listen to Ron, folks, and buy his book.
Yeah,
He has a printed out book, too. So buy all his books.
You
grab
guys
your friends, and
so
if they want to be preppers, that's the first thing you get. Buy Ron books on Amazon and beat the hell out of your new prepper friends. Read Ron's book. Stop looking at the cell phone. Because I made a video about that. Everybody's staring at the cell phone like, who's Ron?
Well, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. I've got company here. They've come to do some work. So, hey.
Thanks for coming in and visiting with us, Howie. I really appreciate it.
I'd love to do this again sometime, Will. Uncle Al, Green Wizard, all good gentlemen.
I'm going to have you and Ron on again before spring hits. I want to make sure everybody's doing the right thing.
Right. Buy Ron's book. Get Howie's pamphlet. Okay. And then let's see. Ron, do you have anything to go for this week?
Do I have anything to go for nope, nothing I've got planned that I'm aware of. That doesn't mean it could change, but
Will?
I'm going to be trying another test live stream on Saturday. So you guys see me pop up, why don't you drop in and help me get my settings put together on my OBS. I'm going to start doing Saturday night live streams. So I want to make sure
also you're giving away
before I put out the program I have planned.
Right. You're going to give away the mic thing on Monday?
Not on Monday. I have to do the review first.
Oh, okay.
But it is a nice one. It's not a cheap one. It's It's one of the metal cased ones that has. It's not cheap.
Yeah,
I want to play with it one time before I give it away.
Yeah, and I got to do a video on, folks. This is the most stupidest thing I saw on mainstream media. Gardening is not racist.
Gardening is not racist.
Right. A lot of my friends are African American.
There's black, green, brown, white. That doesn't mean just because the vegetables are different colors.
Sorry,
that they're
I have
racist.
to go.
Oh, so we have somebody at the door. Okay. Yeah, if any of you guys need me up on one of your live streams or you want me to come up on your channel, feel free to contact me. The Green Wizard at hotmail.com. No spaces in that. The Green Wizard at hotmail.com. I'm glad to come up and give you a hand on your channel, help you get some support in and spread some word on what you want to talk about. Because I cover a large gambit of things. Not only do I garden and barbecue, I'm also into all natural holistic health. There's a lot of tricks and a lot of things that people just don't realize. We can be prepared for a lot of these things just by having the right vitamins and minerals around. And a lot of those can be grown. And that's, again, another source in the book. There are 3 different sources for minerals that you can use in your garden to get everything that you need out of your garden. Just because you're composting and what have you, that doesn't mean you're putting all the minerals in your soil that it actually needs. The human body needs 90 minerals and vitamins on a daily basis. Are you getting that out of your garden? Does your garden have all that? All of that is in the Green Wizard's Guide. Every source that you can potentially use that's organic and safe and tested regularly, all of those are available in the book. All of that information is out there. You can make healthier and healthier gardens and overdo minerals without hurting anything.
Right. I have to go,
So
guys.
I put over there in the chat, I put his email address.
Right. Folks, I got to leave. Nice talking to you, Will and Ron.
I'm going to close it up too.
I got the thing on the alarms on my power generators. If I don't maintain
go do what you got to do. We'll see you, Uncle Al.
I'll see you on Monday, Al.
Yep.
All righty, buddy. Close it out, and we'll talk to you, my friend.
Tell everybody goodbye. Thanks, everybody, for coming by, and I'll see you guys Saturday. It'll be a test stream and probably just non-announcement jump in. But until then, thanks for coming by and have a great rest of your day.